Let's graph this last example. Now, here's how I'm going to have you do this one. We're going to write down the 5 things we need to find using the 5 rules that we have learned from this lesson. Now, what I want you to do is pause the video, try to find these 5 things on your own, and then we'll come back, check your answers, and graph them together. So pause the video and try and practice this by yourself. Let's come together and see how you did. Our domain is from the denominator. So we say our denominator cannot equal 0, solve, and that's what we get for our domain. Our x-intercept comes from the numerator. Set the numerator equal to 0 and solve. Make sure to write it as a point, and make sure to do even or odd. This x plus 1 has a secret 1 exponent. 1 is odd. We graph that x-intercept as a closed circle on the y-axis here at -1. And I put a little O next to it to remind me this is odd, so I should cross through this point. Y-intercept, plug 0 in. So I plugged 0 in and got 1/2, write it as a point, graph it on the y-axis. Vertical asymptotes, we need to check to see if we can reduce first. There is nothing in here that cancels on top and bottom, so it doesn't reduce. So I take the denominator, set it equal to 0, and I got -2. This is also odd because of the secret 1 exponent on that x plus 2. The exponent of 1, 1 is an odd number. So I put a little, graphed it with my dashed line, put a little O for odd. End behavior, the degree on top is 1, biggest exponent is 1. Degree on bottom is 1, biggest exponent is 1. So that is our leading coefficients rule. So I look at the leading coefficient on top and bottom. They're both secret 1 leading coefficients. So that gives me 1. So I go to 1 on either side and draw my stars. Hopefully you're starting to get those rules down a little bit better. Let's come together and graph this, and then we will be done with 3.1. Remember, I like to start with the points we know. So this y-intercept, I know I have to go through this y-intercept. To the right of the y-intercept, there's nothing between here and our star, so just point to our star. On the left side of the y-intercept, the next thing I have is this x-intercept, which is an odd x-intercept, so that means I'm going to cross through it. If it was an even x-intercept, I would bounce off of it. Now, I know I'm going to have to go down this asymptote, can't go across it, and I can't go up it, or else I would make another x-intercept right there. So I've got to go down this asymptote. This is an odd asymptote, so since it points down on one side, I'm going to point up on the other side, opposite directions for an odd asymptote. And there's nothing between here and my star, so I curve around and point to the star. And that is it for graphing. Hopefully that makes pretty good sense. In 3.2, we actually aren't going to learn anything new. 3.2 is just lots of more extra practice graphing problems. So we'll do that in the next lesson.